السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب زدني علما، اللهم فقهنا في الدين. آمين يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today, for our Ramadan series, we are going to be covering the topic of Tawakul. So starting with what is Tawakul? Tawakul means to trust or rely upon Allah. So it is to have complete faith in Allah and know that all good and bad is from Him. This is similar to the concept of qadr that we covered before when we were looking at the six pillars of Iman. So when we were looking at the six pillars of faith, we learned that qadr or belief of qadr means that knowing that all good and bad is from Allah. So tawakkul means that we internalize this, and after we have internalized and known that everything is from Allah, we trust in Him and we rely upon Him for all our matters. So we understand that He is the most wise, that He is the best of planners, and that He has control over everything. The reason why tawakkul is important because as a Muslim, being distrustful shows that you do not have full faith in Allah. So if we want to be one of those people who have full faith in Allah, and remember this is one of the pillars of faith, the six pillars of Iman, one of them is this belief in Qadr. So having this trust in Allah and knowing that whatever Allah does is for the best, and knowing that He is in control of everything, that He is all wise, that all good and bad is from Him, this is a form of having complete faith. And being distrustful shows that you do not respect Allah and His attributes. So, for someone who truly internalizes and believes that Allah is all wise, that He is the most knowing, that everything He does is because He knows this is best for us, when you are distrustful of Him, this shows that you do not fully believe these attributes of Allah. And this can also be considered a form of shirk as well. When Allah has told us His attributes, having belief in His attributes is considered part of true belief, true faith. So if we do not believe in these attributes, it can be considered a form of shirk. So we have to be careful that we are not associating these things with Allah and that we are not becoming angry with Allah about His decisions. So having tawakkul means to trust upon Allah's decisions, to rely upon Allah, know that everything is from Him. All the good that happens to us in our lives is from Allah. It is because of Allah. And if there are any hardships or trials in our lives, it is because Allah knows that He is giving this to us. It is a test from Him, and it may be that this is something that is good for us, which is why we are going through whatever it is. So having this tawakkul and this trust is something that is a must for all Muslims. We learn in Surah Al-Anfal, ayah number 2, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. That believers are only those who, when Allah is mentioned, their hearts become fearful. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And when His verses are recited to them, it increases them in faith. وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And upon Allah alone they trust or they rely. So here in this verse, we are seeing the attributes of the believers. The true believers are only those who, that when Allah is mentioned, they are fearful of Allah. وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. Their hearts become fearful in the reverent mention of Allah. So these people who are believers, when they hear remembrance of Allah, they have that reaction in their hearts. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And when the verses of Allah are recited to them, it increases them in faith. وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And upon their Lord they trust or they rely. So here in this ayah, we see that this is one of the attributes of a believer. If we want to be a mu'min, a true believer in Allah, we have to be amongst those people who have faith in Allah, who rely upon Allah. In another ayah, we learn in Surah At-Tawbah, قُلْ لَن يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا هُوَ مَوْلَانَا وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Say, never will we be afflicted except by what Allah has decreed for us. He is our protector, and upon Allah let the believers rely. قُلْ لَن يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. Say that never will we be afflicted by any hardship, never will we be tried or tested by anything except what Allah has written for us. So anything that happens to us, we know that it has already been destined for us. It was written for us. Huwa Maulana, He is our protector. So no matter what it is that you are going through, Allah will protect you. He will bring you out from this. And the only thing that we have to do is remain patient and continue worshiping Allah the way that He deserves to be worshipped. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, and upon Allah do those who believe rely upon Him. So here again, we learn that those who believe rely upon Allah. They have tawakkul of Allah, and everything that we go through, any hardship that we go through, is going to be because Allah has written for us. So this is a source of comfort for us, knowing that Allah has decreed this for us, and Allah will help us because He is Maulana, He is our protector. And then we learn in Surah Shura, ayah number 36, وَمَا عِندَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And what is with Allah is better and more lasting for those who have believed, and upon their Lord they rely. So in this ayah, we learn that whatever is with Allah is better and more lasting. So in this dunya, we are going to have hardships. This is something that comes with being in this dunya. And if we want to be living a life that does not have hardships, we have to be in Jannah. That is the only time where we'll be able to live forever and have everlasting happiness. In this dunya, trials will come. Every single person will be tested. And we know this. We know we will be tested. So what we need to do is that we need to have trust upon Allah, rely upon Allah, and this will help us endure this world better so that we can meet Allah in the hereafter and have something that is better and more everlasting. We learn in Surah At-Talaq, وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ, and Allah will provide for them from places where He does not expect. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, and whoever relies upon Allah, then Allah is sufficient for him. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ, indeed Allah will accomplish His purpose, or He will carry out what He plans to carry out. قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا, Allah has already set for everything a decreed extent. So this is such a comforting ayah for us. Allah mentions وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. For someone who trusts in Allah, Allah will give him provision from places that he does not even expect. We ask Allah for help, and Allah helps us in ways that we do not expect. وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, and whoever trusts in Allah, then He is enough for him. Many times you will see people that are not happy with their lives, that they have so much and still they are not content. They are not happy. They still want more. And Allah here says that whoever trusts in Allah, no matter what it is that he has, that will be enough for him. Allah will be enough for him. And this is the type of person that we should be. No matter what we have, no matter how much we have, we should be content and happy with what we have. فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, then it should be enough because we have Allah. And the person who has Allah, who trusts in Allah, that is enough for him. And then Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدَرًا. That indeed Allah will accomplish His purpose. So when Allah has said that He will do something, He will do it. When Allah has promised this to us, that He will provide from you in ways that you do not, He will be enough for you. When He has promised this to us, Allah will carry out this promise. And then Allah says that Allah has already set for everything a decreed extent. So when Allah has already written everything for you, that during this year of your life, this will happen, and this will happen, and this will be given to you, and you will be given this much risk. When Allah has written for everything a qadara, a decreed extent, then we shouldn't be worrying about these types of things. Sometimes we worry a lot about our risk, about our provision. Where will it come from? And Allah has already written this for us. We learn from the hadith that it's mentioned that for someone who has his rizq written for him, it will be given to him. And it was mentioned that if people ran from rizq, if they ran from provision, the way that people run from death, that provision would find him no matter what, the same way that death would find him no matter what. Meaning the way that death is written for everyone. Everyone is going to die. That same way Allah has written provision for everyone. And it will come to you. It will reach you. So Allah has already decreed this for us. So we should not be overly concerned over these matters. Of course, you make dua and it's natural to have worry, to have some anxiety, but we shouldn't let it consume us because we know Allah will take care of us. And even if we don't get provision, we don't get rizq the way that we're expecting, we know that Allah will give us something لا يحتسب, that we do not expect. We expect to get money or get a good house or get to have like a good car, have good children. But it may be that Allah gives us something instead of this. And it may be that that thing is better for us, or maybe what we are asking for is not good for us. So Allah provides for us in ways that is sufficient for us. And we do not know this most of the time. And of course, Allah knows. He is all wise and He gives us what is best for us. In Surah Mumtahina, ayah number 4, we learn of the saying of Prophet Ibrahim. He said, رَبَّنَا عَلَيْكَ تَوَكَّلْنَا وَإِلَيْكَ أَنَبْنَا وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ. He said, O our Lord, upon you we have relied, توكلنا, وَإِلَيْكَ أَنَبْنَا, and to you we will be returned, وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ, and to you is the destination or the final return. So here this is the saying of Prophet Ibrahim when he said that upon you, Ya Allah, we rely. And we see the story of Ibrahim has so much tawakkul. Someone who does not have as much tawakkul or trust in Allah could not have done the things that Prophet Ibrahim had done. When Allah had commanded him to leave his wife and newborn child in the desert, he had tawakkul in Allah. He had this faith that Allah will take care of them. And you look at his wife as well. When Hajar alayhi salam was running between the Safa and Marwa, when she was running between the two mountains, she had trust in Allah. She knew that He will take care of them. And even when Ibrahim was leaving, she asked him, did Allah command you to do this? And Ibrahim said, yes, Allah commanded me to do this, which is why I am leaving you here. And she said, then if Allah had commanded you to do this, then Allah will be sufficient for us. Allah will take care of us. And of course, she was worried. She made dua for her and her child. And she did all of her efforts to try to get help, to try to get water, to try to find some way for them to survive. And we see the beautiful way that Allah helped them with the spring of Zamzam that even now is benefiting the Muslims. So when they had trust in Allah, Allah made it easy for them. And we look when he was commanded to sacrifice his son, he had tawakkul in Allah and he did this very honorable act in something that a lot of us would not be able to do. So he had this tawakkul. When we see that he was thrown into the fire, he had this tawakkul that Allah will save him. And Allah told the fire, Ya naru kuni bardan wa salamun ala Ibrahim, that, O fire, become cool and give salam to Ibrahim, give peace to Ibrahim. So we see in all of these cases that his story was a story of tawakkul. And Ibrahim says that رَبَّنَا عَلَيْكَ تَوَكَّلْنَا, upon you we have relied. And we see in his story he did rely upon Allah, and Allah brought him out from all of these difficulties. We learn from another saying that a man said to the Prophet ﷺ, shall I release my camel and trust in Allah? Meaning that he was going to leave somewhere. And he said that, should I just leave my camel out and then just trust in Allah that Allah will take care of my camel and make sure that it's safe? And the Prophet ﷺ said, tie the camel and trust in Allah. Meaning that when it comes to trust in Allah, it should not be blind faith. This is not something that Islam advocates, and it's not something that we should be doing. Blind faith has no place in Islam. There are a lot of people who make dua to Allah that, Ya Allah, please give me a job. Ya Allah, please give me this. Please give me this. Please give me that. And then they make no efforts to actually go forth and try to make that happen. If you are not hunting for a job, Allah is not going to randomly just give you a job just because you made dua for it. We see that even when it comes to the prophets, when they asked Allah for something, they were always told to do something to have that miracle come in place. Or when they asked for healing, for example, like we see Prophet Ayub, when he asked for healing, Allah told him to strike his foot against the ground, and then that water came that cured him. When we see Maryam alayhi salam, when she was going through the pains of labor, and she made dua to Allah for a cure, or not a cure, just a relief from this anxiety and this pain that she was going through, Allah told her, get up and shake that date palm, and the dates fell down, and this brought her some ease. And we see that when any of the prophets were given a miracle, again, they had to perform an action, and then Allah gave them that miracle. So similarly, when it comes to tawakkul of Allah, we should not think that it's enough just to make dua, just to trust in Allah, and everything will happen perfectly fine. So the Prophet ﷺ is advising this man, you tie the camel, you do as much as you can, and then you trust in Allah that Allah will take care of your matters. So similarly in this matter as well, that if we have anything in our lives, let's say we have a car, our house, and we leave without locking the doors, we cannot expect that car is going to be there when we get back, or that no one has broken into our house when we get back home. Just because we say that, I trust in Allah, Allah will take care of my things. Of course, Allah will take care of your affairs, but you have to do your own part. You do as much as you can, and then after that, leave everything to Allah. So even in this case, when it comes to tawakkul of Allah, this does not mean to just have blind faith, make dua, and this is enough. This means that you do your own actions. There's a very famous story that some of the scholars have mentioned. This is not from hadith, but it is just something that people have brought up. But there was a man, and he was inside of his village, and a flood happened. So meaning the water was coming and it was covering the houses. So he was on the roof of his house, and he was making dua or sorry, no, he was not on the roof. It was flooding, and he knew that it was about to flood. So the people had basically told this man that there is a flood happening. It's raining very hard. This place is going to be flooded over. So you should leave while you have the chance. You should evacuate now before the water becomes too high. And this man said that, no, I trust in Allah. I'm going to stay here and Allah will save me. So the people were like, okay, we're leaving. And then they ended up leaving. And then the water started filling up even more. So this man, he saw that there were cars going, and there were like a couple of cars leaving, like his neighbors were leaving, and this was before the water was just barely enough that the cars wouldn't be able to pass through anymore. So this was almost like his last chance to escape by car. And his neighbors offered him a ride, and they said that if you need a ride, we can take you out. And this man said, no, I'm trusting in Allah, and Allah will save me. So they left. And then after that, he was in his house, and the water started getting higher and higher, and people were coming with boats. So the police were coming, and evacuation efforts were coming with the boats. And they said to this man that, get on the boat, we'll save you and we'll take you away. And he said, no, I'm trusting in Allah. Allah will save me. And then they left. And then finally a helicopter came, and this man was now on the roof of his house because everything was covered in water. There was no way for him to leave. And the helicopter said that, you get in the helicopter, we can save you. And this man said, no, I am trusting in Allah and Allah will save me. And then, of course, you can imagine the end that this man came to. So in these situations, Allah may have answered his dua. Allah may have saved him. He had tawakkul in Allah. He had trust in Allah, and Allah was sending him all of these ways of salvation. First, when he got the evacuation order, and then when his neighbors came with the car, and then the boat, and the helicopter. So many times Allah had tried to save this man, and still he did not want to take the actions. So we don't know if this is a true story or not, but we can imagine that we applied this scenario to our own lives, that a lot of the times Allah is bringing out means for us, that someone will come and try to help us and we don't want their help, or Allah will make something easy for us and we don't want that. We don't want that thing. We want something else instead. So a lot of the times when Allah is giving us help, we refuse to take it. So if we are making dua and asking Allah for help, then when that help comes, when ease comes, we should take it. And then also we should try our best to do our own actions. Yes, we make dua that Allah protects us, but then also we have to get on the boat. We have to evacuate when that time comes. So you do your own actions, and then beyond that, then you trust in Allah. Abu Darda narrated that the pinnacle of faith is in four things. Number one, patience with the judgment of Allah. Number two, pleasure with the decree of Allah. Number three, sincerity and trust in Allah. And number four, surrender to the Lord, or surrender to Allah. So these four things are necessary for having true faith. We need to have patience with the judgment of Allah, that when something happens to us, we are patient with it. We know that this is a test. Pleasure with the decree of Allah, that when Allah has decreed something for us, we are content with it. We know that this is enough for us because Allah has decreed this for me. And then sincerity and trust in Allah, knowing that whatever it is that we are going through, we trust in Allah, that He will have the whatever is best for us. We have tawakkul in Allah. And then surrendering to Allah, meaning that no matter what happens, we are pleased in His decree and we submit ourselves to His worship. The Prophet ﷺ said that 70,000 from my nation will enter paradise without reckoning, without hisab, meaning without any questioning. There are those who do not rely on incantations nor believe in omens, but rather they trust in their Lord. So they have tawakkul of Allah, and they do not rely on incantations, meaning that they don't have like tanweez, they don't have those little like charms. They say that, this is going to protect me. Like the little blue eye, people say that this will protect me. Or they have different charms with names of Allah, or they have different things. And they say that if I hang this out in my car or in my house, this will protect me from all these kinds of bads. Nor do they believe in omens. So sometimes people will do different things to kind of divine their future. They have tarot cards and they flip over the cards and see that, I got this, meaning that in my future, I'm going to have this. So they don't believe in these omens. They don't believe that, I saw a black cat, this is bad luck, or I saw a ladybug, this is good luck. They don't believe in these kinds of things. Rather, they only have trust in Allah. And for those people, there will be 70,000 from his nation, from the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, that will enter Jannah because of this, without hisab. Because of their tawakkul, their trust in Allah, Allah will allow them to enter into Jannah without any questioning. Umar radiallahu anhu said, let not one of you refrain from working for his provision, supplicating to Allah to provide while he knows that the sky does not rain gold and silver. So again, this is that concept that we just covered, that you make dua to Allah. Of course you make dua to Allah. You ask Him to give you rizq, to ease you in your matters. But it is not supposed to be you making dua while refraining from working. So some people make dua to Allah that, Ya Allah, give me a lot of rizq, give me a lot of this, give me a lot of that. And then they don't go out and work for it. And Umar, he says that he knows the sky does not rain gold and silver. So if you're making dua, expecting that Allah is going to rain gold nuggets onto you and give you money, and we have the saying that, money grows on trees. We're not expecting that you just go and you find money lying around. This is not how it works. We make dua to Allah, we ask Allah for things, but then we work towards it as well. We do our best efforts to find a job or to create a business or to heal ourselves sometimes. Sometimes it may be that you are going through a sickness and you are not taking any medicine and you say that, Allah will cure me. The doctor says you need surgery for this, and the man says, no, it's fine, Allah will cure me. So whatever it is that you are asking dua for, do your best efforts to do as much as you can. Refrain from working for his provision, meaning that you just make dua and you don't go and work. You don't do your own efforts. So we must do this, and then Allah will do this for you. Now, it may be that you have some kind of sickness and you need to take medicine for it. Now, you take the medicine and then you have tawakkul in Allah. You trust that Allah will cure you through this medicine. You go and get a job and then you have this thinking that Allah will bless you with rizq through this job. So you do your best efforts and then let Allah take care of the rest. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, whoever is afflicted by a pressing need and complains to people, his need will never be satisfied. Whoever is afflicted by a pressing need and complains to Allah, eventually Allah will provide for him sooner or later. So here we learn that people complaining to other people, you will never satisfy your needs. And we learned in the previous verses that وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, that whoever trusts in Allah, then He is sufficient for him. So similarly, whenever we have a need, whenever we need something, and we complain to Allah about it, Allah will provide for you. And we learn from this hadith that it is not bad to complain to Allah. We shouldn't say that, how could Allah do this to me? How could this happen to me? We shouldn't say these kinds of things, but we are allowed to complain to Allah. We tell Allah that, Allah, I'm going through something difficult. I am in a lot of pain right now. This is so difficult for me. I am in a lot of constriction. I am in desperate need of this. We complain to Allah because He is our Lord. He knows our situation. As long as we are not being ungrateful, we are allowed to complain. And we learn that Yaqub alayhi salam said, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِي وَحُزْنِي إِلَّا اللَّهِ, that I only complain about my needs to Allah. And we learned the Prophet was complaining. He was complaining about his needs to Allah. Of course, he was missing his son, Yusuf, and he was making dua for his son. And he was worried about his son, and he was complaining to Allah. So we learned that this is not necessarily something bad because Allah knows what we are going through. So if you need to complain to someone, complain to Allah, and Allah will provide a way out for you. Sooner or later, meaning that sometimes you make dua and it happens right away, and other times you make dua and it takes many years even, or months or days for your dua to come true, but sooner or later Allah will provide for you. In another saying we learned, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever is concerned about the world, Allah will disorder his affairs, make poverty appear before his eyes, and he will not get anything from the world but what has been decreed for him. And whoever is concerned about the hereafter, Allah will settle his affairs, make him content in his heart, and the world will reluctantly come to him. So if you are focused only on the dunya, then it will become very difficult for you. Allah says that He will disorder his affairs, make poverty appear before his eyes, and he will not get anything from the world but what has been decreed for him. And Allah has written your rizq for you. When you were born, Allah wrote your rizq for you, and you will only get what has been written for you. You will not get any barakah, you will not get anything extra. Meanwhile, for someone who is concerned about the akhirah, then Allah will settle your affairs for you. He will make ease for you. He will create a way out for you. He will make you content in His heart. No matter what it is that you have, Allah will make you content in that. And He mentions the world will reluctantly come to Him. So whoever asks for dunya and akhirah, Allah will give both to him. And Allah mentions you should make dua for both. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً, Ya Allah, give me in this world good. And then we also ask that in the hereafter, give me good. We ask Allah for both. We don't ask only for the dunya, we ask for dunya and akhirah. And if you focus on the akhirah, then Allah will make the dunya come with ease to you as well. And then here, Ibn Abbas reported, I was riding behind the Messenger of Allah ﷺ on the camel when he said to me, young man, I will teach you some words. Be mindful of Allah and He will protect you. Be mindful of Allah and you will find Him before you. And if you ask from only Allah. And if you seek help from Allah. Know that if the nations gathered together to benefit you, they could not benefit you unless Allah has decreed it for you. And if the nations gathered together to harm you, they could not harm you unless Allah has decreed it for you. The pens have been lifted and the pages have dried. So here we learn from this hadith that Allah has written all of these things. Everything that is going to happen in our lives, Allah has decreed it for us. And if everyone gathered together to help you, they would not be able to do so unless Allah has decreed it. And if they gathered together to harm you, they could not harm you unless Allah has decreed it. So we learn from this hadith that everything has been predestined by Allah. So if we are going through something, know that Allah has written this for you. It is written for you. قُلْ لَن يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. That anything that we are afflicted with, it is because Allah has written it for us. And then if you are going through anything, seek help from Allah. If you seek help, before seeking it from anyone else, seek help from Allah. Before asking anyone else, ask from Allah and Allah will help you. And anyone else will not be able to help you. They will not be able to take you out of this situation. And you see, when you make dua to Allah, when you ask Allah for help, Allah will send you help through the people. Someone will come and they will help you in a way that you did not expect. So make dua to Allah and He will make things happen for you. Because we are doing the topic of tawakkul, I did want to mention the dua of istikhara. So the dua of istikhara, as we learned, anytime a word starts with alif, sin, ta, or is, this means to ask. Khara meaning khair. So you are asking Allah for good. So this is a very, very important dua. I urge you all to memorize this dua if you can. If not, at least have it printed out and in front of you so you can read this very, very often. And in this dua, we ask Allah for good. We ask Allah for help. So we see here in the dua, it mentions, Oh Allah, I am asking you for goodness through your infinite knowledge, meaning that Allah knows best, and I ask you for what is best for me. And I am asking you for strength through your divine ability, bi qudratik, with your qudr. And I am asking you from your infinite grace, because you are completely able to do while I simply cannot. So when we ask Allah for things, He will make things done that we would not have been able to do. You know everything, and I do not. And you know everything that is unseen. And we ask, Ya Allah, if you know that this decision is good for me in terms of my religiosity, in terms of my deen, my dunya, my worldly life, wal akhirah, and the hereafter, then decree it, facilitate for it with ease, make it easy for me, and bless me through it. Give barakah in this. But if you know that this has bad consequences on my deen, on my religiosity, my worldly life, my dunya, wal akhirah, and the hereafter, then take it away from me and get me away from it. And instead of that, decree what is better for me, whatever it may be, and make me content with it. So this is a dua that normally we do when we have a decision to make. Then we make this dua, but read this dua all the time. For very, very small things, make this dua. If you have started to do an action, make this dua so that Allah makes it easy for you. Because in this dua, we are asking Allah, facilitate it for me, make it easy for me. Yassirhu li. So you ask Allah for ease. Thumma barik li fi. And now you're asking Allah for barakah in this matter as well. So even if you find that, I have made my decision, continue doing istikhara for all types of these matters. And if there is something bad for us, we ask Allah, فَاصْرِفْهُ عَنِّي وَاصْرِفْنِي عَنْهُ. That take this away from me and take me away from this. A lot of the times we want things that are not good for us. Allah mentions this in Surah Baqarah as well. عسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو كره لكم وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو شر لكم. That it may be that you وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم. That it may be that you love something and it is bad for you, or it may be that you hate something and it is good for you. And sometimes something is bad for us, but we are so in love with it that we want that thing no matter what. So we ask Allah, فَاصْرِفْهُ عَنِّي, that take that thing away from me, take that love away from me, and give me something that is better. وَقُدُرْ لِي الْخَيْرِ, that give me something that is better than this. حيث كان, wherever it is, whatever it may be, give it to me. ثم أرضيني به, and then make me content with it. Whatever you, Ya Allah, have decided is better for me, give this to me, no matter what it is, and then make me pleased in this. And this is such a beautiful dua when it comes to tawakkul, or trust in Allah, because we are teaching ourselves this trust and asking Allah for help as well. And then this was one of the sayings by one of the Imams. He mentioned, be patient, for what was written for you was written by the greatest of writers. So when Allah, the greatest of writers, has decreed something for you, we know that it is the best thing that anyone could have decreed for us. If we had written our own stories, we may have done things that would not have had good consequences. If we gave ourselves everything that we wanted, it would not have ended well. And we know that everything that Allah has decreed for us is the best for us. So be patient in this. And we learn that tawakkul gives us peace and contentment in all of our matters. A lot of the times we have so much anxiety and we are so upset over things that are out of our control. So when we have tawakkul, when we have trust in Allah, this gives us peace and contentment in our hearts. And we stop worrying about this dunya and being upset over things that are out of our control. And when we don't get something, we know that it was not good for us. We're not upset about this loss. And we try our best and we leave the rest upon Allah, the best of judges and planners and the most wise. So having tawakkul is the best cure for you. If you are upset or anxious or angry about certain things, have tawakkul, have trust, and this will bring you peace and contentment. We ask Allah to increase us in tawakkul and to make our affairs easy for us. Inshallah, we will end here for today. Jazakallah khairan kathiran. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.